is worldly, widely, world.
Good evening, everybody. All our friends, our RAEL friends, all our non-friends, all our family, everybody watching from everywhere. Just wait for a couple of our friends to come on this evening, and then we'll start heading forward in this. How's it? Good evening, Carl. Hi, Mr. Hall. So, with the RAEL live recovery stories, we obviously, we take it from the addict's angle, from the person's angle. That's why we've had a parent or two share. We take it from people, how they feel when they're longer in sobriety, and we take it from people that have a little bit less days in sobriety, just so that we can sort of touch and feel and get everybody sort of on the same page, and so that there can be a message shared for everybody. Tonight, one of our very special friends of RAEL that does really a lot for us, that has helped so many guys come in here when they've been battered. And good evening. How's it, Mom? How's it, Dad? How's it, Jackie? Hi, Michelle. Hi there, Diane. I don't want to miss anybody. Hi, Sharon. So this evening we got our doctor. We got our doctor that is a doctor that will be sharing maybe a little bit about herself, her experience. Obviously, also traveled around the world, because that's why it's our doctor, because we don't just trust any doctors, because doctors were prescribing me methadone at a stage, and I used heroin to detox from methadone. But anyways, I made it here, and when I got here, this is one of the important people that looked after me, helped me, and still helps me as I go along, and I've seen her help many. So I'm going to give it to Dr. Riana Du Toit, that is very involved with RAEL daily and helps us a lot. So I'm going to stop speaking now so that she can speak, and maybe we speak a little bit later.
There's a lot of new names,
Okay, doctor, now there's going to be more viewers because I'm not a doctor.
Hey. Okay, firstly, I have to say this is totally out of my comfort zone. I tend to talk a lot, but not in front of lots of people, so it's actually just as well I can't see any of you. And the other thing that I think is quite important from my side is I do feel like a bit of a hypocrite to sit here sharing, because I have luckily never had a first-hand personal experience with addiction, either with myself or a loved one. So until I actually came across RAEL, or my path crossed with RAEL, I actually knew pretty much close to nothing about addiction. Through my work, I've obviously mostly seen the effects of addiction and drug abuse, alcohol abuse, but I've never really had a clue about rehab in terms of addiction. So I'm going to just trace back a bit, just give you a bit of background of myself. Maybe also try and explain what my perspective has been and why it's been the way it was before. I grew up pretty sheltered, so I'm lucky in that way. I grew up in a stable family, stable community. I basically, for a long time, I would be shocked if someone even smoked. And then I was used to having wine in the house, but my parents used to always, and still do, have a glass of wine with a meal, but it was always very civilized. I never saw them drunk, so I learned how to use wine responsibly. I myself enjoy a glass of wine, but I never go over certain limits because I'm just too plain scared, and it's not necessary to go over the limits for whatever reason. And the guys here at RAEL, they often obviously tease me about my wine drinking and tell me about the steps and stuff that I need to go through, especially the denial and all that. So they really take the mickey out of me a lot. So then after school, I went to study medicine. And trying to think back now, I really can't recall learning much, if anything, about addiction at university. Maybe I just missed those classes. I sometimes skipped classes. Or maybe it was never, I was just never interested in the field of addiction. I think I also found it scary, and I actually think I tried to dodge it as far as I could. I've never been comfortable with it. Obviously at university, I also already saw when we did the practical work, saw the effects of alcohol abuse, especially drug abuse, and everything that goes with it. When I did my housemanship, I went to Kimberley Hospital for that, and everybody who's worked in the ER knows weekends are chaos. Why is it chaos? Because of drug and alcohol abuse and everything that comes from that. So usually if you're on call for the weekend, you would work yourself to pieces. At that stage in Kimberley Hospital, if you are on call for the weekend, you start the Friday morning, and if you're lucky, you walk out of there 8 o'clock, anything between 8 o'clock and 12 o'clock Monday morning after you've had the final rounds. Normally then you are paced. I can describe so many like close to war scenes that we had to work with. And one of the smells that I'll never forget is the combination of alcohol and blood, because that's what you smell the whole weekend. And I remember clearly the cleaners having to mop up the blood the whole time, the patients getting abusive and rude towards you while you were trying to help them. And you also had to watch your own back the whole time, because some of those patients would actually, while you're trying to help them, they would assault you. Luckily, nothing like that ever happened to me, but one of the nurses at Kimberley Hospital, before I got there, was stabbed in the neck and she died because of a patient. So, obviously, that's one of the reasons probably I've been, for most of my life, actually been judgmental in terms of drug and alcohol abuse, because I only saw the bad side, the bad effects, and what happens, what people do to each other when they're under the influence, what people do to themselves, the things that happens, and the permanent bad consequences that people suffer from because of drug and alcohol related situations. Then after my housemanship, I went overseas. I worked in England for a year and a half, mainly with cancer patients and elderly patients, so no contact with any drugs or stuff there. And then after that, I went to work in Australia for a year and a half. Now, the first 5 months of my time in Australia, I worked in a proper psychiatric unit, padded rooms, the whole works. There, obviously, I saw quite a few people with conditions that was drug or alcohol induced. I was never comfortable with that. I tried to dodge that as much as I can. And so I saw a lot of the effects of it and how to treat the psychosis and whatever that went with it. But still, I can't recall that we were really ever taught proper rehab. I can tell you a few horrendous stories of what I saw in my time in that psych unit. The one time there was a patient who he stabbed himself in the eye because he was running around naked in the streets due to drugs, and when the police wanted to catch him, he stabbed himself in the eye. Now, I had to then escort him on a very small Royal Flying Doctors aeroplane to go to a hospital in Brisbane. I was working in Rockhampton at that stage. It's about 8 hours drive north of Brisbane in Australia. So I had to escort this oak, who I was like really scared of, to a hospital in Brisbane so that they could fix his eye, because the eye specialist in Rockhampton was on leave at that stage. So it was me, this patient, this very scary patient, a nurse, and the pilot on this very small plane. So I was thinking, yes, if this, I was like, if he sort of gets crazy on the plane, we're all done. So I put up a drip for him with a very, very long line so that I could sit very far from him, and I was ready to, I felt I would just, if he causes any nonsense, I would just knock him out and rather ventilate him all the way there. But luckily, we were lucky, he slept all the way, no problems. Another patient that stands out for me that I saw there, and it was actually very sad. It was both sad and interesting, actually. It was a young woman, beautiful, but very, 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 very skinny, and she was on heroin. Her boyfriend got her on the heroin, and they brought her into the, her mother actually brought her into the emergency department because she was psychotic, and she had 3 children with her, 2 little ones and a baby. She was holding the baby. And this woman, she believed that her boyfriend and the 2 older kids weren't the original people. She believed they looked like the original people, but they weren't the original people, and that the original people were being kept in the ceiling in their house. She believed that the baby was still the original one because the baby had never been away from her. She also believed there was corpses in a car. She ripped her whole car apart and all that. So quite scary things. And I realized that for this woman, those things that she was believing was as real as anyone else that I talk to is to me. And then, okay, she had the baby in her arms, and I realized, okay, now I have to tell her she has to stay. And I didn't know how she would react, what she would do with the baby, how she would react. So I asked, can I just quickly have a look at the baby? And she actually passed the baby to me. I handed the baby to the mother, and she actually was never a big problem in the unit. And then afterwards, she came right, she dumped the boyfriend, she came off the drugs. But I'm not aware of any like proper rehab program that she went to. Maybe I just missed that. But I saw her again afterwards. She came right, and she looked so good when I saw her after that, and she had come off the drugs. It's like, it's just so sad to see what someone can be and what they turn out to be because of drugs. It's just so clear cut to me. That's one of the things I think I've always struggled with. To me, it's always been a no-brainer. You don't do drugs. But I've also come to understand through my experience with RAEL is there are reasons that people do drugs. Different reasons for different people. Some people just plain and go and experiment and they get addicted. Others try to numb a pain that they have, emotional pain, trauma that they've been through. Others need to be on the go 24/7 because of a high-pressure job. So it's different reasons for different people. And thanks, Angus. So you need to see that, as I said, the things I'm saying is my perspective, things that I've learned, and I might be wrong in many of the things I say. And obviously you all welcome to criticize me for that. I'm still learning. But every person needs to be seen as an individual. And that's also, there's so many reasons that I'm going to say. The next thing is, one thing that I've come to realize for a fact is 3 weeks to a month does not work. There's absolutely no way on this planet that 3 weeks to a month in a rehab can work. Because it's not just about the drug. The drug is, as far as I'm concerned, that's a side effect of something deeper. You have to address the reasons people do drugs, and you have to sort that out. That doesn't sort out in 3 to 4 weeks. I've seen many of the guys here that they've been here for a year, 2 years, and there are still sometimes things that's not sorted. And as long as those underlying things are not sorted, the chances of staying sober is just less. Some people recover quickly. The penny drops quickly, and they've got good support, and they get it, and they carry on. Other people really take longer. But I can promise all of you, there's no way that I, even as a doctor, will ever refer someone to a 3 week to a month rehab ever again. I have in the past filled in stupidly or unknowingly filled in forms for people who were on their way to 3 or 4 week rehabs. I will not do that again. It doesn't make sense. Now I'm going to backtrack a bit again. There are actually so many other stories I can tell you about the time in Australia, some of the terrible things I saw, all drug related. One of the worst ones that I'll never forget is a woman who actually stabbed her own baby to death. She had to go to a psychiatric prison for them to sort out did she know what she was doing or not. So I can keep you busy with many stories of the effects of drugs and alcohol, but obviously most of the people, or many of the people who are watching these shares know very well what damage drugs and alcohol can do. For myself, in terms of alcohol, I have two brothers. Both of them were involved in separate accidents due to alcohol. The one broke his back. Luckily, he didn't suffer any spinal damage, so he's fine. He recovered completely. My other brother was also involved in an accident where alcohol was involved, and luckily he wasn't driving. He fell out of the car. He got cuts and bruises and stuff, but he was fine. But his friend who was driving the car also broke his back and he's paralyzed. That happened about 17 years ago. It's actually an amazing story in the end. He turned his life around completely and is an absolute inspiration, this guy. But what I can just say out of that incident is so many people, they think they're bulletproof, use alcohol and drugs and whatever else, it won't happen to me. And that's something that I personally struggle to understand, is that you can see what happened in other people's lives. You can see the damage that's being done, the injuries people sustain, the permanent damage that's being done. But it will never happen to me. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. It can happen to you. You can try it once and you can be the unlucky one who dies or get permanent brain damage or get in an accident and you're paralyzed or cause someone else's death. It doesn't just happen to other people, it can happen to you. And I believe strongly in rather learn from other people's mistakes instead of hitting your own head unnecessarily. And I'm also trying to teach my kids that. See what happens if you do this and this wrong. That's the consequences. And it's often, even when they were smaller, I would say, don't do that because this and this is going to happen. And they still do it, and it happens as I said it would. Oh, how did mom know? Well, I know because I'm a mother. But anyway, to get back to my point, it's so much better if you can learn from other people's mistakes than having to make those mistakes yourself. Sometimes we make mistakes and we learn from it, no permanent damage done. But sometimes the damage is permanent. And what then? Then you can't turn back the clock. So, yeah. Now, okay, backtrack again. After I came back from Australia, well, that's 1999. Since then, I've been doing GP work in South Africa. Obviously, again, seeing the general damage that can be done by drugs and alcohol. But I think most of the most severe cases I didn't see because they tend to end up in ER or the morgue or in jail. Not in a normal GP surgery. So I think I was spared that again, or able to dodge dealing with those difficult issues again. I have, however, seen a lot of addiction to prescription medication, because that's what GPs see a lot, because that's where the patients come to get the scripts for the legal or acceptable drugs. Obviously, sleeping tablets, tranquilizers, painkillers, and diet pills. I've had a lot of arguments with patients because I don't want to give them what they want. But I believe it doesn't matter. They can rather be mad at me than me giving them something that can damage them. I can't live with that. So if anybody's thinking of coming to ask me for a script for something that's not good for you, don't even try. They also pull the mickey out of me Yeah, trial a lot. This and this is wrong. Don't you think a methadone script will fix the problem? And obviously, my answer is always no. Yeah, and then yeah, so I've been doing GP work. The last 4 years or so, I was working in Rawsonville area. Lot of alcohol abuse, a lot of drugs, and again, always after a weekend, the Monday, we see the results from the weekend. Beaten up women, stab people who stab each other with broken bottles. So I always had to, like, especially on a Monday, do a lot of suturing, trying to fix the wounds and stuff that that they. My phone's storage space is apparently dangerously low, so we'll see how far we get. Then in 2016, I, for the first time, came in touch with RAEL. The first time I came to the farm to come and have a look at the patient, I was expecting massive fences, burglar bars, straight jackets, the whole works. And I was really pleasantly surprised. For anybody who hasn't been here, go take a look on the website or on the Facebook page to see what it looks like here. It's a lovely place. It's a peaceful, lovely place. Lots of dogs around, other animals, and it's really a wholesome, beautiful environment. My learning curve since I came in touch with RAEL has been steep. I had no idea. I was blissfully unaware, stupid, whatever you want. I had no idea how big the drug problem in this country and the world is. I had no idea. I was actually shocked. Still am. But I'm glad I know. Because I have 2 little kids. Well, one is 10 and the other 13. If I stayed blissfully unaware, I wouldn't have been able to warn them and teach them and try to equip them to deal with stuff like that. So I'm really thankful that my eyes have been opened. I think a lot of my just judgmentalness, whatever you would call it, is also sort of been sorted. Because I realized, okay, obviously a lot of people who are not addicts or don't know about addiction tend to just write addicts off. They're all bad people and whatever. That's not the case. Just the same as with the general population, you get bad addicts. You get I've seen some like really criminal people, manipulative, horrible, and they don't want to change. But the majority of the guys that I've met here are lovely people. It's some of the loveliest people you can imagine. They've made mistakes and whatever else, and they're trying their hardest to fix it. There are really some absolutely lovely people. Things have happened in their lives, bad decisions made and all that, but they're working on fixing that. I think a lot of people also tend to think addicts are weak. Well, I can tell you, you don't get a stronger person than an addict that's busy recovering and who's overcoming his addiction. That is hard. It's not easy. So I have so much respect for all these guys here at RAEL for doing what they're doing and for working hard every day to stay sober and to build a new life for themselves. I used to think, I could never understand if someone was an alcoholic and they stopped drinking, why the hell do they start again? Just don't start again. But I've realized, you know what, if you're an addict, that's a decision you have to make every day for the rest of your life, not to take up the drug and drink again. And that's hard. That's not easy, especially when things go wrong in your life. And that's again where RAEL comes in. It's not just get you off the drugs, there you go. It's about setting a solid foundation so that you can carry on staying sober outside once you leave RAEL. That's what it's about. It's not just dropping the drug or the alcohol. It's laying a solid foundation and giving people the tools and the skills to stay sober, stay away from situations that can make them fall again. Now, talking about falling, we all fall. We all make mistakes. You can always try again. It's not about how many times you fall. It's about getting up again every time. It's difficult, but you have a choice every time. Are you going to stay down and roll around in the mud, or are you going to get up and try again? And if you make mistakes, that's fine. We all do that, but just keep trying. Never give up. Always try again. Always get up again. There are so many of the guys here that's as they say, who's got broken service, who's been here before, did well, slipped again, and Anthony gave them a second chance, or a third chance even. And then one day the penny drops, and it's just absolutely amazing to see that. When they grasp what it's about, what they need to do, and they start doing the right thing. And that's also another thing. I see some of the guys here who keep, for some reason, opposing the people who want to help them. They think they're clever if they can, in their mind, outsmart Anthony or outsmart the other guys that's here to help, but they're just fooling themselves. I see a lot of that, and every time I just don't get it, because I see time and time again how people who trying to do the wrong thing gets caught out, and then they still try it again themselves. I don't get it, but as I said, I'm still learning how these things work. And then you get other guys like Mr. Cole sitting here on his phone who just seem to grab the opportunity with both hands, and he's just going for it. I told him I'm going to tell you about his TikTok videos. Luckily, I met him the way he is now, nice, decent oak. And then I was told about TikTok videos he made when he was still drugging. And I tell you, it is scary. It is scary. But the amazing thing about it is I can see where he's been, where he's come from to where he is now. And that's the whole amazing thing. And with so many of these guys, Kurt, Kurt is a shining example of I can't believe the stuff that he's done, the stuff that he's been through. He should have been dead so many times, but obviously he still has to be here. God has a plan with his life, and it's absolutely amazing to see the way he's doing now. And when I listen to the stories of how he was, I mean, he even one time apparently lit his lighter to see where the petrol from his car was leaking from after he had an accident, and everything went up in flames, but he survived. So he obviously has to be here. So it's amazing that the sad part is hearing all these, some like heart-wrenching, horrible, shocking stories. It's like I've been shocked so many times listening to the guy's stories. But the amazing thing, then it's so much more amazing to see how they change and how they come right. But it takes hard work. It takes hard work and dedication. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just fall in their laps. They have to want it. They have to want to change. You can't force anyone to change if they don't want to. But if they want to, it's absolutely amazing to see how people get changed. Now, the other thing is Mr. Anthony Hall. What an amazing man. I must say, I don't think there's anybody that knows addiction better than him. He knows every trick in the book. So it's actually quite funny sometimes to see how the guys try and, excuse my language, bullshit him. Sorry, my phone is almost full, it seems. And it's just amazing to see the guys trying to fool him or whatever else, and it just never works. But he's got a passion to help people. And I can't understand when people don't see that and don't take his help, but try to keep on opposing him and trying to, in their mind, outsmart him. I remember the one day, long ago already, he told me the one day, you know what? I often think I want their recovery more than they wanted themselves. And I can see that. He's got a passion for it. He'll keep trying. He'll give people second chances. But at the same time, he doesn't take any nonsense. He's very straight. Everybody here, one thing about RAEL, they are straight, like blatantly straight. And that's good, because that's the only way to fix this problem. But it's also amazing for me to see the amazing brotherhood amongst, especially like the sober livings, the guys who come through the program. They really like brothers to each other. They'll tell each other straight if they're messing up, but they're there for each other, and they support each other, help each other, care for each other. And Anthony is the big daddy of all of them. He's really a father to all these guys. So the guys who want it, the guys who want this, the guys who want to get better, they will, if they just listen. The ones who make it that I've seen are the ones who listen, do what they're told, learn from people who's been through this, and go and apply what they learn here when they go out, and who stay in touch with their roots here. Those are the people who make it. That's just my observation, but that's what I've seen. The other thing that I've seen, obviously, is the parents, what they go through. Yeah, I've been present when phone calls come through, and I've spoken to parents. Yes, they are broken, many of them, and I don't wish that on anybody. I can just hope and pray I never have to go through that, because there's no guarantee. I'm trying my best to teach my children, to inform them, to show them this is what happens if you actually do drugs and drink too much and whatever, but they will still make their own choices. The best I can do is to teach them and explain to them what the consequences of wrong decisions are, but there's still no guarantee. I can't say my kids will be fine. All I can do, I can't protect them against everything. I can't keep drugs away from them, but I can try my best to teach them how to handle these things, how to behave in certain situations. I also need to teach them about consequences. I can't keep on bailing them out if they do wrong. Already now, when they're 10 and 13 years old, they need to understand, if you do certain things, it has certain consequences. Are you willing to face the consequences? And sadly, I've seen a lot of guys here that their parents mean well, but they're always bailing them out, and the guys never learn to take responsibility for their own actions and deal with the consequences. But saying that, I don't mean it's I'm not blaming the parents, because, as I said, I still have young kids. They might also go the wrong way. But these are just things that I try to identify things that I think I can learn from, in order to help my own kids and also the guys that I deal with here. But the pain inflicted on the parents, I don't wish that on my worst enemy. Not that I think I have many enemies, but it's hard. And Anthony also teaches the guys a lot about respect towards your parents and making amends for what you've done to your parents. And also another thought there is, it might be if you had a difficult upbringing or whatever, yes, you can use that as an excuse to use drugs and whatever, but you're the one that's going to suffer under that. You're doing the most damage to yourself. So we always have choices. You can whatever happened to you as an excuse, or you can actually deal with it. I know it's easier said than done. As I said, I grew up relatively easy, but it still remains a fact. You can use it as an excuse for the rest of your life, or you can work through it and make your own life better. That's a choice you have. There's so many other. I've just learned so much through my contact with RAEL, and yes, I still have a lot more to learn. Another thing interesting is the 12-step program. Okay, I still have to read through that book. I've got the book, but I haven't read it yet. But the little bits I've picked up from Anthony and the other guys, those are not just applicable to drug addicts. Those are like really life principles and good general advice, and a good way to live your life according to. It is definitely a book that not only addicts should read, but anybody else. It's actually as far as I'm concerned, a very, very sensible way of seeing and doing things. So I'm very thankful for what I've learned so far. It's been a major eye-opener. I'm ashamed in a way of how ignorant and judgmental I was before. And at the same time, I'm looking forward to everything else that I am definitely still going to learn. The other people that I'm still going to meet, people's stories that I'm still going to see. It's been a good experience, and I'm thankful for it. And thank you for this opportunity to talk tonight, although it's not in my comfort zone, but thank you very much to all of you. Thanks. Good. You can take the seat again.
Okay, geez, I sort of as the doctor was speaking, I was thinking of her experience and everything that she does for RAEL and the people in need and things like that. I I have to first say, obviously, thank you, really, Doctor Riana, for sharing and on a level of always finding or trying to find the best route for us as addicted people with your doctor's experience and things like that. Like, when it's according to medication and things like that. You know how difficult it is to get a sort of substance that is that addicts shouldn't have, to get a script with addictive substances from this doctor. She won't give it to you because she just wants to help and not cause harm. And to hear from a person like that and share their experience and things like that it just proves how misinformed people are about addiction. And I was listening, the effects and things like that. And there you have it from that angle as well, to people that that maybe are even considering trying drugs and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's just chaos, and we all testimony to that. And the doctor touched on it, and what I'm most grateful for, obviously, is my sanity that I've got. There is a thin threshold of a cracker and a crackhead, and that's the terrible truth that it's hitting our young adults and people today. Sometimes just with the first try of something. But again, I say that the doctor does so much for us, with regards to helping the guys that have been put on so many unnecessary or almost been made addicts, by going to these 21-day, 28-day sort of rehab hotels and things like that. Because these guys move from rehab to rehab, or holiday to holiday, sucking their parents dry or sucking their loved ones dry. And a lot of the times they end up here on a box of. And the doctor helps us big time, to turn them from zombies into back into feeling loving people again. And I'm not sure if the doctor would want me to mention it, but the doctor's even also sponsoring Angus to his nursing that he's busy studying at the moment. One of the few guys that is studying at the moment on the farm. And with expecting nothing back in it, on a bit of skills and care for people the way she does. So I just want to say thank you for the doctor's input tonight, and sharing that with everybody, giving a bit of her story and her perspective and all of that. And then most of all, thank you, doctor, what you do for RAEL and all around, even beyond RAEL and the recovery center. Yeah, so there you have it. And I mean that. Thank you. I've really seen guys come in here that I probably looked the same when I did come in here, and it would have been easy for the doctor to put me on some medication that could have just furthered my addiction and pulled me lower down, but gave me the best options and things like that. So I'm gonna give it over to. And now you've heard the doctor on addiction. Now I just want to give you the professor. So Professor Hall will finish off the meeting. Professor Hall will finish off the meeting tonight, and then we'll see tomorrow night again. It was very insightful getting the doctor's opinion. once again, thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Riana Du Toit, so much from us at RAEL, all of us. Okay, good evening, everyone. You know, I have to fill the shoes of the doctor and of the convener, Kurt. You know, a lot of times we look at people and we think to ourselves, excuse me, they're unapproachable. But when you find someone that is approachable and you don't go there with a motive to use or that, Richie, then you can open up. You know, a lot of people say, I can't open up because I don't feel comfortable with a person. Now, that can be used in two ways. It can be used because they don't want to open up, or because they are not comfortable with the person, obviously. So meeting the doctor was like 4 years ago, and that has now opened up another avenue. And I'll tell you, the amount of work that she does here amongst the people she's got. She's my mom's private doctor. It's amazing that we get people, a lot of times we stereotype. We think that doctors are upper class or the woman is upper class. No, man, not when you get to meet them. I was talking to a person today about how far some people have gone in their lives and made such a success of their lives. And I look at Richard and I look at DeAndre Highclere, and there's so many people that have come out of RAEL, not because of me. It's all by the grace of God. You must never forget that. The grace and mercy of God. And have come through this farm and today are living a good life. Our task is not completed, but we've done what we can to the best of our capabilities, and everyone, hi Lijay, and everyone has got the same chance. Some people don't want it. Huh? Today, for instance, this was our day this morning. We go out, we had to go and do some shopping, we had to get to the court. We took a guy out of, our lawyer, Elton Shortlist, got a guy out of prison today, bail conditions, stay at RAEL till the end of the court case. This is where he has to stay. Leaves here, prison, gone. Now, you don't want to put a person in prison, but if you don't want to play the game, then you must go do it. You must go play the game somewhere else. So he's now in quarantine, and he'll stay in the quarantine section for 14 days. We'll go according to the law. Okay, we know that law, some of the law is absurd, but we will stay according to the law for the sake of the other 30 people that are on this farm. And then today we had to go take the carer. The one lives in Rawsonville, the other one lives in Worcester, go pick her up. So we all work together, the sober living guys, and I miss you, Richie, big time. Big time, Richie, I miss you. Is that all the sober livings, hi, Mr. Ulafid, Carl's doing very well. He'll never make a TikTok video while he's on my farm. Ever. I guarantee you that, sir. He will never, ever, ever, ever make it. I think I've looked TikTok. I just watched these videos for 2 minutes and I turned it off and I wasn't interested in it. Because here we haven't got time to fuck around. Here we change. And we want to change. And he is one who wants to change, as well. So, when we be given an opportunity in life, I wasn't given the opportunity to go to rehab because my mother and father would never, ever have paid for me to go to rehab. Because my dad was a pretty straight big man that didn't take any shit. And I see the guys who come around here, and mainly, like I've said, the guys who get sponsored. Now the team around me, I'm going to tell you who the team around me is. Richie used to be included in the team, but Richie thought Joni was better than the team. Oh. Okay, now Joni is a beautiful girl. Now, don't let's get that. But she said to me, now Joni's about 23, 24, and she said to me once, Mr. Hall, if you were younger, I would go out with you. And I just took that as a compliment, and Richie got a bit upset, but he laughed about it, and about 6 weeks later, he was fine. Because it was so, Richie, you know what I mean? And the team that I've got around me is,
I've got my general manager, Kurt. This was built up from nothing, remember. This was built up from nothing. We had one house in the house at the back here. That's all we had. We could take about 8-10 people. That's all we could do. I've got general manager, Kurt. I've got Angus, who's doing the caring course. I've got Carl, and I've pulled Carl very close to me. He's only been here 2 months. He comes 4 months from another rehab. I pull him very close to me. And we'll never get to the situation, and I don't allow anyone into my immediate space, because then we lose respect for each other. And familiarity breeds contempt. But I'll laugh with you, I will joke with you, and I expect you to laugh and joke with me, but we don't become that close, you know what I mean? Those are left for other things. And I've got Leroy out there. I've got AD. AD's been here about 2.5, 3 years. You've heard him speak. And we've got Lee J in London, who's doing our social media. And we've got the doctor. We've got 2 pastors who come here. We've got another pastor who's staying over here now for a week, because I'm building a sunroom on for my mom. So we get so involved in each other's life. And what the doctor said, we rip each other to pieces. But when we see one of the brothers going off the road and going off the way he should be going, he gets taken down straight away. Because that is the way it should be. We can't let a man carry on falling and falling and falling, and then all of a sudden when it's too late, you want to pick him up. Kurt, do you still have those Chesterfield blue there? Sorry, I shouldn't have said that loud. So, how's the new guy going, Avril? But what I'm trying to say is just get back to the team, guys. We look after each other. We look after each other's backs. You know, we don't expose ourselves to crap. We love each other unconditionally, but we've got one mission first. First we seek God, and then we look after people who come in here. We want sobriety, because a lot of people who come in here, they see a beautiful house, etc., and they have to thank my very good friend Miles October and the woman who started it all off, Denise Levy, lovely people, beautiful people, is that this didn't fall out the sky, man. We've worked hard here. We've worked very hard. And we got the belief that, you know, if you come to rehab, don't think we're going to go to your standard. You're going to rise to our standard, because our standard is a better standard if you've been using just the other day. Avril, how's the new guy doing? You know, a lot of parents phone me after a week, 2 weeks, what has changed? And all I can say is, you know, it's normal. He's doing what he should be doing. If he was giving any problems, he wouldn't be on the farm. You know, we had beautiful visitors here. We had Martin's mom visiting here this weekend. You know, without COVID, all things, we're like fully COVID protected. And then on Sunday, we had Michelle from Mavericks. She came to visit. Wonderful woman. We've walked a long road together, man. There's some parents I've walked a long road together. And I'm sure every parent on here would come on here and say that Anthony Hall has never talked shit to them. I've been straight, I've been blunt, because I'm never going to give false hope. Because once we start giving false hope, we might as well close the doors. If I tell Carl's dad, oh no, Carl is this, and everything is, and he comes down and he sees the difference, he's not only going to lose respect for me, but my integrity will fall. And that's what we try and build up, is the integrity. I see there's so many new names on here. Hello, Barbie. I've seen so many new names on here tonight, and we're trying to grow this group. We've got like tens of thousands, and I mean it, on all the different RAEL groups. And we want to grow this and help each other. Sorry, and help each other to get sobriety. We're all good people. We're just sick people. And some of us need a bit more medicine than others. And I don't mean medicine in the actual physical terms of it. But anyone who shows a willingness to change will change. But never get complacent. There are boys outside there now who've left us. Hi, Frank. Diane. The boys who've left us now in the last while. They should be on all meetings. They should be reading the literature. They should be reading the Bible. They should be trusting God. Because recovery is not something that we just do while we're in a rehabilitation center. We more like to say this is almost a wellness center. To find yourself, get yourself, and go out and be a productive member of society. No time for none. Hi, Wendy. Wendy, we're still going to get you to share very shortly, huh? Very shortly. And how, my friend Ura is going to share as well, and everyone else who wants to share, please do it. So, I'm not going to keep you up. I'm just going to say that there is hope. There was hope for this drunk like me. God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And there's hope for every man on this farm. The difference is whether you're going to take that opportunity or whether you're just going to waste your parents' money and pay my water and electricity bill. The choice is yours. And I've told many parents, and they will back me up because there's some parents on this page as we talk. Rather take your son out of here because you're wasting your money. You can do something better with it. This organization, we were mentioned today in the Sun newspaper. This organization is not money driven. If it was money driven, my prices would be sky high and I'd be a very rich man. But we're not interested in that. We want to see the people come right. We want to see the people. Hi, Michelle. We want to see the people come right. Yeah, Richie, you will share soon, Richie. Don't get greedy. Hello, Vivian. Hello, Vivian. And we will continue to invite different people. Tomorrow night we've got a pastor whose son is in the rehab. He'll be sharing. He's been a pastor for 42 years. That's going to be very interesting. He lost his son by assassination, and his other son is in the rehab doing the caring course. That'll be beautiful to listen to. So, and then one day, maybe in a long time now, I will share my story. I share bits and pieces and half and half, and then now and then something comes up and I want to share it, but I'll show you my full story, and then you'll see, like people saying, like what the doctor said, where we come from. Hi, Gladwin, my brother, where we come from. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you to the doctor for coming and giving her time to come and share with all of us. I'm sure we all learned something. And, knowledge is there, and there's power in knowledge. Our night is not finished yet. Now at 20 to 10, we start our evening meeting. That goes to 10:30. Then they have tea, and then they go to bed. So there's no time to waste here. We'll put in every effort at every time. Because I can remember getting drunk, drugged, whatever, whores, etc., at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. Doesn't make any difference. You could never get enough recovery. It's not one of those centers where you go to and you have one meeting a week and you stay there for a couple of weeks and you go home. We must stop playing with people's lives, and people must stop playing with people's and families' emotions. The family suffers more than the addict. Because the addict, like me, was drugged or drunk most of the time. And mom and dad were lying in bed praying, I'm not going to, please, God, don't let that phone call come tonight that something has happened to my son. Cheers, Frank. So thank you very much. Tomorrow we got another, God willing, God spares us, another exciting day. And we will continue to strive, and we will continue to lift each other up. We will continue to love, but we will never enable. Did you hear that, Michelle? We will never enable. I've closed always with the word grace, and the grace is, the G is the gratitude. The gratitude that we could have the doctor here tonight, that all you guys can be online. Hi, Conrad, my friend. That all you guys can be online. That I'm sober, my men around me are sober, the leadership, the other people are sober on this farm. And the people that are out there who have left the farm are still sober, who keep in contact with me. Those who have relapsed, let's trust that they will find a way back. The R is respect. I have total respect for other people now because I never had self-respect. When I left the drug squad and the murder and robbery unit and I was a director of that retail company, I went to the streets and I stayed there for a year and a half, for 2 years, like a burgie, with no teeth in my mouth. Today I don't want to look like that. Today I want to be shaved. Today I want to wear decent clothes. Doesn't have to be expensive clothes, as long as they're decent clothes. And then I get respect for other people. That is the beautiful part. The A is the acceptance. I accept that I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I accept that I've got a calling on my life. I never planned this on my CV one day to head a rehabilitation center. And it just came out of the blue. It wasn't planned. And I accept that I've got this fatal disease, but I can abstain and I'll be okay if I follow the unwritten rules. The day I get bigger than this game, the drink and drug is waiting. 2 weeks' time, by the grace of God, the mercy of God, and the love of God, I celebrate 15 years of sobriety. Only grace can do that. And we're not perfect, we're not saints, we're not angels. And sometimes we forget. I forget to say my prayers, or I say my prayers and I fall asleep halfway. But I think God knows my heart. Definitely. The C is the courage for the change of people, and the courage for addicts and alcoholics to come into recovery, not only here. Don't get me wrong. Go to any place you want to go to. But take that opportunity to change your life. It takes courage to change. It takes a man to change, even when you're a woman. Just the courage to change. And you reach different heights. And you can all change, because I've seen the worst of the worst come into these doors. And I was one of the worst of the worst. And they changed, and I changed. And you're right there. We all got our flaws. Huh? We still got our flaws, our character defects. But we're working on them day by day. And the E is the empathy. And this to me is the big one. For the still suffering addict and alcoholic. Gambling addict. Porn addict. Anything you want to call it. That they may find a new life. We have been discarded and left alone too long. They say drugs is self-inflicted. So is AIDS most of the time. Why haven't billions of rands been thrown into the drug pandemic and epidemic? We live with the two pandemics in this country at the moment, but there's more. There's addiction, there's the COVID, there's poverty, there's homelessness. There's a lot of people that are suffering tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and they're not addicts and alcoholics. There's a lot of people. And we need to be the shining example. And even when the days get tough and the days get rough, I'll take the words of Winston Churchill. We will never surrender. We will never, ever surrender. So to everyone, God bless you. Thank you, Conrad. Hi, Gaynor. Very proud of Andrew. For all of you, thank you very much for listening. And until we meet again, may God keep you, God bless you, and may you have a beautiful, beautiful night's sleep. And for our friends overseas, God bless you, and hopefully we will meet up someday soon. Thank you very much.